Welcome to the Kheartfelt Experience podcast. This is a brave space where we explore everyday experiences through spirit-filled conversations and gain wisdom and knowledge to get us through life. We will laugh, cry, pray, challenge ourselves, and more than anything, grow in love. I'm your host, Keonda Hester, and I can't wait to share this experience with each of you. Okay, welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I have an extremely special guest today that I'm so excited about. But before we introduce her, it is a her. Before we introduce her, I want to make sure that, as we always do, we just give it up to God and we glorify His name. Okay. And I always say this: if there's anyone out there who is not of faith and you feel like I don't really want to hear your prayer, that's okay. That's your business, and I understand. However, all I ask is that you do not turn off the dial. Well, I don't know if it's a dial because I don't know if you look on the radio, but just don't click it off. And I'm hoping that you keep your ears and your heart open because you never know where your message may be coming from. Okay. And you can take this time to say your own affirmations or just kind of, meditate and just hear it. Okay. I wrote down a prayer and I'm just really excited. So let's just kind of go into it. Abba, I come before you to glorify your name, thanking you for your provisions, your grace, and your mercy that you give every single day. I want to thank you for allowing me the space and time to sit with your daughter today, and I pray that her heart gets a chance to speak and encourage the people. I thank you for your presence here today, for you to say, I know that you say if two or more are here, then you are there, and I'm so thankful, Father God, that you are here. I ask that you have your way today, Holy Spirit. Have your way, come in and shake the room, tag team with me. I don't want to do this without you. May our hearts be fixed on you, Father. May you protect all those who are listening and their families. Cover them in the blood of Jesus. Cover this entire conversation. May those who need salvation receive it, and may those who need this message hear it. May they all invite you in their hearts, and may it all be done in the mighty, majestic name of Jesus Christ. We say amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. So today, everyone, I'm so hyped to introduce Kimberly Isis Thomas. Kimberly is an innovative woman on the move. She is a creator, an author, a podcast host, a keynote speaker, a mentor, a regular coach, a daughter, a big sister, a friend. She is everything, and a strong, beautiful Black woman, as I might add. She is on a mission to empower women across the country to defy stereotypes and tap into their power. She has a dynamic empowerment lifestyle site for Black women called I Hear That Girl, where she provides opportunities for women of color to be creative and provides tools to ensure that they unlock that power within. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Keonda. I'm so excited.
Me too. So today's show is about authenticity. But before we jump into like the meat and potatoes, since this is like, I get to finally interviews. I love interviews and I get to interview someone. I just want to make sure I check in with all the things that were going on, especially with the last episode that I just kind of recorded and finished up. I just want to make sure I check in and say, how are you doing? Like what's going on with you?
Yes,
How are you?
Great. I am great. And it's so interesting that you said, how are you? I did a show like that too, about the importance of just asking.
Right.
So, and because we get so used to just not asking how a person really is, but a lot of times you don't know what kind of effect that question has on people. So a lot of times we just want to feel needed, seen, heard.
Yeah.
So if I'm asked, how am I? It's the moment to be seen, to be heard. So I am great. Thank you for asking. I am constantly evolving, and I have become a student of myself. And I never want to graduate. I'll basically put it like that. It's like I'm always learning something new about self, and it's an amazing education. one that you don't want to ever end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can figure self, because self is so much bigger than that. So for me right now, um, this journey of self that I've been taking since I want to say like 2018, late 2018, early 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm in a great place right now. I really am. I am in an excellent place. I just don't see reasons to not be. And so I choose to
Amen.
be happy, healthy, and whole. And so, yeah, I'm great.
Amen. Thank you. You know, so crazy. I was the last episode that I did, I talked about that strong friend, right? How that strong friend, I read this article where there was a test. So if you ask your strong friend, how are you doing? We know usually our strong friends, you know, I believe that you're probably a strong friend as well. Will say, I'm doing good, you know. And to challenge them, you would say, okay, so what was the last thing that made you feel good? You know, or what was the, you know, to like bring that up. So I just wanted to throw that out there to people. As I mentioned last time in the last episode, in the last experience that we talked, make sure you check on your strong friends, you challenge that notion and you pour into them, you know, definitely. Ask how are they doing and what's going on. I do want to just ask one more question in our check-in section. What do you do for self-care?
Oh man, I do so much. Like, I am the most selfish person, and I
Mm,
absolutely love it. Um, yeah, I always put her first.
I love it.
Um, so I have a morning routine. My morning routine is 4 hours long. And it's just me time. It's time for me to listen to me, talk to me, understand me. What do we want to do today? Just really feeling the totality of myself and deciding which way we're going to move based on that feeling. What else do I do for self-care? I give myself grace every day. I do not challenge myself or I do challenge myself, but I don't hold myself um, to any particular measurements of achievement or success. I feel like as long as I honor myself, that's the achievement. That's it. Like, I want to make sure that every day I'm honoring myself, no matter what decisions I have to make, whatever moves I have to make, that I'm always honoring myself. Did I put myself first when I chose to help this person over that person?
Mm,
Or, when you said that you made that commitment to do something, did you honor yourself in choosing to commit to that? Or did you honor yourself in actually following through with that commitment? Do you honor commitments to yourself? So all of these things like that, these are my methods of self-care. We talk about self-care as this thing that you go and you go get your nails done and you go to the
mm-hmm,
spa, and that is not self-care. That is vessel care, but it's not
mm-hmm.
self-care. And you should honor the vessel as well. um However, what I've learned is like real self-care. And I actually just covered this in our I have a coaching group called the Confidently Dope group, right?
Mm,
And so these ladies are signed up. It's really like a cohort because you're in the program for a whole year. And we go through monthly intentions. Um, and so each month we have an intention, and then each week there's a mini intention within those.
okay.
And one of them was real self-care. And real self-care was about talking to self, like really, I use the analogy of a dating relationship. When you're dating somebody, what are the things you do to get to know that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do? You stay on the phone all night, you're asking certain questions,
So
you're
true.
you're trying to spend more time with that person. So date yourself and really spend time talking to self, knowing what it is that I like, what I dislike, why do we dislike, what hurts us, what makes us, feel the way that we feel. I need to know all of these things about myself. That's real self-care, honoring myself, making commitments to myself to better myself. and not just for other people. Sometimes we make commitments for other people, and we have no problem rushing to complete those commitments. But when it comes to something that we've done for ourselves, we'd be like, oh, well, I'll get to it later. Why would you dishonor yourself, but you can honor somebody else? And then at the end of the day, you're up there talking about, oh, I'm drained, I'm tired because I'm always this for somebody else, but you're not that for yourself. Like, come on.
Talked about, I literally just, the episode is literally coming out. Like, I just talked about this, about pouring, like you're filled up to pour out, right? But you have to know those ways in which to be filled up. And the main thing about that is learning loving you, really getting to know you. And you just put it in simpler terms. I think I was a little long-winded on my episode, right? But it was this understanding that like I got depleted. I hit a rock and God told me you have to stop pouring into other people and you have to heal. And I had to go through my trauma, the trauma that I have been avoiding because I was helping everybody else and their mama, you know what I mean? And I'm a social worker. So I'm not only helping my friends, I'm helping my clients, and I'm never getting the time to check on me. And during the pandemic, I had to sat down, like I sat down, and I had to go through all these different processes. And now it's so good for it to be a part of the regime. You know what I mean? Like to really make sure, like for me, I love to watch General Hospital, right? I get the things that I need to get done. And that's something that I get a nice take out of, you know what I mean? But it's also part of that all day journey. Did you make sure that you went out to lunch? You know, I get up at 4:30 to make sure I'm sitting and I'm praying and I'm focused, because that's what fills me up. That's how I'm healing constantly. I love that. I love
and something you said you got to be full to be poured out, right? And this is what I learned about that, because I constantly felt like I was pouring. And what I learned by sitting in meditation and really talking to my highest self is that I don't want you to pour. You're supposed to spill over. We should be abundantly filled so that everything spills over. You never have to be poured out. You just spill over. That's it. People around me will be affected. They will catch what spills over, but I will never have to be lifted to be poured. I will just spill over.
Spill out.
And so that is the mindset that I always have. That's why I continue to keep myself first, because I want to spill over. Let me spill over. If it's nothing to spill over, that means it's not enough in here yet. Let me spill over, you know? Yeah.
I love that. I love that. You guys hear that? Spill over. So I know I talked about pour out, but spill over, your presence, your light, right? That's going to be enough when you encounter somebody, because you are doing the work to ensure that you are good. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So today's show is about authenticity. God can't heal what you pretend to be, right? That's kind of like the title. And when I thought of authenticity, honest to God, automatically I thought of you.
Oh.
And October 30th, I wrote the episode kind of like down, and I got ideas. I think I was like talking to God. I was in bed before I went to sleep or something. I just started going. I was like, oh, thank you, God. I'll make sure I'll hit her up. I was a little nervous, but I made sure I did it. And I got excited and write everything down. But before I tell people why I kind of thought of you first, I want to know if you remember how we met.
Yes, I do remember. We were at what is it, LIU?
LIU Brooklyn.
Yes, and I was hosting the Stronger Tour, which is this, you know, that was the start of my tour too. So I'm like, oh my God. And so it's like a town hall style type thing where we discuss different issues that affects Black and brown peoples. And Kianda was there in the group, and we were discussing all kinds of different topics, and she was just very vocal, and I love a vocal Black woman. Okay? Like when you are ready to articulate, I love it. So I was just like, yes, little girl, go ahead, girl. And and so yeah, immediately I was like, yes, when you're unafraid, that's what it is. It's being unafraid to speak truth. No, regardless if your truth is right or wrong.
Yeah.
If it's your truth and you're unafraid to speak it, those kind of people I am drawn to, because I've always been that person that just go off at the mouth, you know, even if it was at my detriment, I still would, because it was how I thought and I wanted you to change my mind, but I'm going to give you my opinion. And so when I see people that are that same way, I'm just like, oh my God, you're a prize to the world. Because honestly, we have to speak for those who don't, those who are afraid. They need people like us to speak for them. And so, yeah, you know, that's how we met.
Yes. And you planted a seed in me that day that I genuinely, I thank God for. And I'm so, it just always, I always tell people, like, you never know the one conversation, the hug, the smile that you give to someone, you never know how it can affect them. And just to always be, you know, your best self moving forward. And I remember, I don't know, we were like, it was ending and we walked towards the table. And I think I asked you for advice because I think at this time, my hands is always wanting to do a bunch of different things, right? So, but I think at the time it was about radio or something. I can't remember, but I asked you, what advice would you give, right? To like go out. I don't know if it was about radio or something. And you said to basically be authentic, be you. No matter what you do, do not deviate from the intentions that you set. Basically, like, I don't know if you said all those words, but that was the just do not, you told me how you could be in the industry in a different way. And you made it that far because you decided to stick to your guns and be authentic. And you knew that you would be blessed that way. You knew how things would go. So it was stay true to who you are. And I remember even when I was doing this podcast, and I think I was putting the title of like the categories I think they asked when you put it up, like it was like religion and spirituality. And for a quick second, like it was like so fast, it was like a quick second, I almost thought, oh, but maybe people won't hear. And then I said, whoa. And I thought of you and I said, be yourself. This is your intentions. You're going to be praying on the show. You're going to be talking about God all the dang on time. So that's what your intentions are. And I thought about you. So I just really want to say thank you for that. Because when I think of all, and you haven't changed the course, you know, you're evolving, like you said, but your mission is what it is. And you're sticking to that regardless. Can you just talk to the people about like how you started? I want the purpose of the show was really to get them to understand authenticity literally through your experience. Right. And, you know, we're going to have fun along the way, but can you talk to them about how you started in this industry and like, what did you always think that you was going to do this? Like what catapulted you into doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. So I started, I don't even really know when this part of my life began, but I was always doing the work, just didn't know it, just wasn't aware of it. Just, it was a natural, you know, type of behavior. And that is as far as empowering Black women. That was something that I was doing as early as kindergarten. Yes. Wow. And I will tell you that story. But first, let me give you some other things. So yeah, I was doing it as young as kindergarten. But I've always chased after my dreams, like whatever it is that I thought I wanted to do at that moment, I did it. And I'm thankful because I had a mother that would push me to do that. Like if I said, hey, I want to, you know, be a rapper today, she's like, okay, you can do that. You know, the only thing she stopped me on was DJing. And I told her to buy me some turntables. And she was like, no, boys do that. And I was like, that's not true, you know. And I always bring it up to her. And I'm like, Ma, if you had got me turntables, we'd be rich. Because I would have been the dopest female DJ out there since Cinderella. And you stopped me. But I always bring that up to her. But anyway, so yeah, I always kind of like just ran after, the things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to be a Grammy Award winning artist, and it did not happen. It's not my fault. It's the industry's fault. So they missed out on me.
Facts.
But I mean, I got really far. I did end up getting a record deal. So, I was like really excited about that. Now, this is where the authenticity part came in, because I was writing music from a perspective of a 15-year-old girl, but I was kind of rough, like I like hip hop. And so basically I was writing R&B songs over hip hop tracks. At the time, it was like straight up rap tracks, like Wu-Tang tracks. I was writing stuff like that, And when I got this deal, that was one of the things that the record company kept saying is like, it needs to be different. It needs to be like Brandy. It needs to be like Monica. And I was like, that's not me. That I'm not that person. And they continued. And, over those 2 years, it was just like, I kept trying to produce music, but I never deviated from the style that I like. And I was just like, okay, maybe the lyrics need to be a little sappy, and I'll do that, and they still were just not okay with it. I remember photo shoots and they'd say, she's just too rough, and I didn't understand that. And I went home to my mom and I was like crying one day, and I'm like, I'm giving them me. That's who they sign, And she told my manager, she was like, get my daughter out this contract, because nobody's going to tell her to be somebody that she's not. She's going to be who she is. They're either going to take it or they're going to leave it. And, and I was like, I'm with that, because I just refuse to change who I am for them, and for them to make me feel like who I am is wrong when I know who I am is right. You signed me, know? And so, yeah, I was able to get out of the contract, and it did have a little bit of effect on me. But I didn't see it for many, many years. After that, I just went straight to radio, and I went to radio because I was like, I love music. I'm going to be around music. So I get there, and that's when I was opened up to seeing the power of media. I always was into media and marketing, but I didn't see the power of it. And I became a on-air personality, midday personality, and I just saw like, I'm playing this music and it influences these people. It was a certain way that they would have the music played. It was a certain, like, I remember people would call and say, oh, I don't like that song. It has too many curse words. And I would tell, back then, now this was like early 2000s, and I would tell the program director, I'm like, look, they don't like this music. They're complaining. He'd say, if you play it 5 more times in this hour, they'll be fine with it. And I actually saw that happen. Like, I saw them would continue to play it, and then the calls would cease, because now it's stuck in their head. And I was like, oh, that's powerful. So what I would do is I would give like a positive affirmation at the beginning and at the end of my shift every day, because I was like, that same thing will stick in their head if I do it, regularly. And it did. I started getting letters from inmates, and they're like, you said this, and and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, that's awesome. So I was really aware then of the power that we all have in our voices, in what we speak, and how we can control, what we take in and also what we digest. So, so going back to empowering women, kindergarten. I remember going to school, and, as a dark-skinned girl, you get you get all the little name calling, right?
Yep.
It never bothered me. Like, I would always be the one that would say, what's the joke? I'm like, they're like, you're Black. And I'm like, I know, like, what's the joke? And so they would get tired of me and just move on. And there was a friend of mine, and she had this beautiful ebony skin. And they're like, we're on the bus home and she's crying. And I was like, what is wrong? And she's like, they called me African booty scratcher. And I was like, but your skin is pretty. Like, I don't get it. And she was just crying. So I get off the bus, I come home and I'm like, Ma, they made Erica cry. And, and my mom said, listen, baby, everybody isn't raised to know their beauty. And she was like, and her mom doesn't know her beauty. And that's why she hasn't instilled it in her daughter. She said, but you did the right thing and you need to continue to do that. You did the right thing. And, because my mom was always like, y'all are beautiful. My dad, oh, my beautiful chocolate girls, my beautiful babies. Like, we just thought like this was like
the normal, the standard. Yeah.
So we're like out the door, like, hey, and it was, that shock when you come outside of your home and then seeing that. But yeah, so I always had that behind me, and it was just always wanting to see people see their true selves, to see, what makes us dope, like everything about us, the unique qualities that we have, all of that stuff makes us different, makes us great. And I see it as a positive. Growing up with this mark on my face, I knew people were going to look at me and be like, what is that on your face? But my mom always was like, oh, you were marked by God. He did that so he can find you. You're special. God wants to know where you are. And that's why you have a mark on your face so he can find you very quickly. And, so I was like, oh,
I love that.
So it was just, seeing, and I realized, like, if you see the things that people call flaws as attributes, then you look at it different. It's all about perspective, and you begin to say, oh, like, why would I want to be, we always say stand out from the crowd, but then we want everybody to look like the crowd. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. And none of us are built to look like the crowd. We're all unique. God made every last person, every fingerprint is different.
It's different.
You know how many people? It's 7 billion people. Different. Everybody's different. Nobody else different. 7 billion people. Let that sink in. 7 billion people. Right? And not one of us has the same fingerprint. And that includes those who have passed. How rare are you?
Yeah.
So why do we conform to this idea of being, we shouldn't do that. And so that's where the authenticity came from. Like, it really was just, I want people to see and stop striving for something that is not going to happen. I'd rather them just take advantage of who they are and stop trying to, conform to some ideology that says we're all the same when we're not. That doesn't even make sense. That's like telling me 2 + 2 is 5 and I know it's not.
Like, there's a connected thread that we may have, but we're not all the same. Even if the gift that you think we both have, it's still not the same, because it's coming out 2 different vessels that we've already established is a different design.
Exactly.
I'm grateful to your parents, because it shows that there was that foundation set at home. And with that knowledge, you were able to come out and spill that over to others and understand that that is what is needed, because it's so true. Like, when you think, I talked about being an advocate. I've always been this one who wanted to help people, but I thought I was gonna be a lawyer. I was the one in the class, like, the teacher told you can't go to the bathroom, but if you really gotta go, she's gonna tell you, like, you gotta go, so get up and go, don't worry, like, you crazy, like, we got this, like, I'm gonna tell her, and I'm the one who, she has to go, what are you gonna do though? Like, this doesn't make any sense, right? But as time went on, I did get hit with the the skin complex. I did get hit with the hair complex. I got hit with all of that, because there wasn't that foundation. And and it's no fault to, I would never fault my parents or any, but that grounding stand, it wasn't there. And it's also so interesting because my sister didn't have these complexes, and she's dark like me, but she didn't have these complexes. She was the one who always wanted the dark skinned doll, and she's the one who called me out. I would never forget, we went to Jamaica. I will never forget this. My first trip out of the country, and I was all nervous, like, oh, I need suntan. And she was like, you got a skin complex, like, and she really came at me. There was no no empathy, because she really attacked me. But I'm so happy she did, because when she did, it stuck on me. I was like, I really do. And now you can't get me out of the sun. I wanna get me tan. I don't care. Like, right. But it took a while to get past everything that's in this world where they break you down to make you feel like what you see is not the best thing, that was made. And I don't, that you're not a masterpiece. The audacity.
Yeah.
You said a few things. You talked about the power of media. And there's a beauty in that. I was speaking to some of my girls in like our fellowship meeting, and I what's so crazy? I didn't even tell them this, but I didn't want to go to the meeting that day. And I didn't tell them that I started a podcast. I have like 3 different groups, and I didn't tell them for whatever reason. I don't know. I was like, I'm new to this group. I feel, like they feel all established. I'm a little new. I don't know.
Feelings of inadequacy.
Right. And I was like, oh, I don't really know. And then, but God was like, go to the group. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be obedient. I go to the group, and it was like, tell them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell them. I told them. And almost every single one of them was like, wow, I'm so glad you said something, because, and one of them poured into me. So it's like one of the same reaction. Was such a blessing that I needed that for a second. I really did. And everyone was like, I've been really feeling like I'm supposed to do this. And I'm so glad. And it's all connected to media. And I said, it's so crazy, because we know the power media has, and we know who has power over the airwaves. You know what I mean? Right. So if the enemy has that power over it, to an extent, and God is pushing us all out, no matter what our gifts. I don't care if it's 10 podcasts out there. Each and every one of y'all have a different message, a different gift, a different delivery that's going to go to a different audience. Right. Go out there to do it, because that power is going to be yielded now in a better way. And I just think, like, understanding that power of media. So if you're listening, right, be careful of what you're consuming. Be careful what you are consuming. It is important. You may be like, oh, I really want to do better, but yet you only got 10 minutes of something empowering, and all the rest of it is stuff that's bringing you down, Right. So you gotta be really
it's the same idea of, what we talked about earlier about, spilling over. Think about it that way. If you're filling it up with 10% is positive, you start your day off positively, and then the rest of the day you're putting negative in there. Guess what's going to spill over first?
Yeah.
All that negative in your life. If you're seeing negative in your life, I promise you it's because you're filling yourself up.
You're filling yourself up with it. Amen.
Because manifestation happens all the time. Like, it's happened since God said, let there be. Like, manifestation is real. Like, it's going to be what it is. Whatever you speak of, whatever you're pouring out there, that's what you're going to see in your life. If you're filling up your life with negativity, you're going to see more negativity manifest. Because at the end of the day, there's a negative and there's a positive. It's just science. There's a negative and there's a positive. There's an equal, opposite to everything. So if you put out negative energy, there is positive energy there, but guess what you're attracted to? More negative energy.
Negative, yeah. So what you hear, and you just touched on it, not only what you hear, but what you say, you need to be careful about. All right, everyone, remember that. Not only what you hear, but what you say. Those words are power. She just said in the beginning, God said, let there be. We are in his image. There's a lot of authority that we have. We can manifest. but what exactly are you manifesting? You saying you want something, but in the next sentence, I can't never get this. I can never do this. So guess what? You ain't never gonna do it.
You're never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it.
Never. It's always there. Like I could give y'all so many scriptures that tells you exactly what we're saying. It's there. It's right there. Like you have the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yes.
Like it's there. You have this power. You have the ability to speak a thing and it will be. So if you speak negativity, just like she said, if you sit there and you pray for hours, which I know many people that sit there and pray for hours, oh God, get me out of this, da, 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 da. And then you turn around and say, oh, I don't think this is possible. You've just limited and negated everything you thought that God had the power to change.
Listen.
So which one do you believe? That's what I always ask my clients. I'm like, what do you believe? Because at the end of the day, belief activates your prayers. It activates everything else. So you can pray all day, but if you don't believe anything, nothing's going to come from it.
You're not trusting
at all. Belief is the water. It's the, you can put the seed in the ground, but belief is the water, and you have to cultivate that ground as well. A lot of us don't want to turn the ground over. A lot of us just want to drop seeds, but there's a scripture for that one too. But there's definitely a scripture about you just throwing stuff, y'all can just throw your seeds out there and see what happens. They'll go by the wayside. There is a way. If you want to learn how to manifest, a positive and abundant life that you read and you pray about, then how about study a farmer? They don't just go out there and throw seeds. They don't. They break up the land before they put any seed down.
Talk about it.
How many of y'all are breaking up your situation in yourself? Are you breaking up with bad connections? Are you breaking up with bad habits? Are you breaking those things up first?
Ooh, I got
a lot of people, y'all go straight to, I'm gonna plant the seed. How you gonna plant the seed and your ground ain't fertile? Baby, no. Follow a farmer. I encourage everybody today, if you can, get on Google and say, what's the process of a farming?
Let me tell you how on point this is. Y'all know that I've been talking to y'all about Transformation Church, and I've been talking about the sermon. He literally just preached on farming. He just talked about planting your seed. I'm telling y'all, listen, we prayed over this. This message is for it. Listen, get with it. Tap in. Get your tools. I hope you listening. It's real.
Simple. It's so simple, but we make it.
We make it difficult. Yeah.
And I do tell a lot of people, like, y'all stop giving credit to the enemy. Stop.
This was on assignment. Fact.
Just stop. Because at the end of the day, if you give more credit to the enemy, what you're saying is that the enemy is more powerful than God.
Yep.
I do not believe that. I do not even ascribe to that belief. Therefore, I know that I have the power to change my situation.
Amen.
I'm not going to just say, oh, somebody's against me. No, nobody's against you. Get out there and do the work. Have you done the work? Have you broken up the ground? Have you done that? Have you planted your seed? Have you done that? Have you watered your seed? Are you nurturing and cultivating your ground? No, you're not doing that, because most people walk away before the harvest is even done.
Yeah.
Y'all put the seed in the ground, and then you're like, oh, I did all this work because I had to cultivate the ground, and now I'm gonna put the seed in there and I watered it and nothing to come from it. And then you walk away, but the harvest is like a month away. You don't even want to stick it out for the harvest. Like, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
But the first thing you want to say is, oh, it's the enemy. Enemy ain't did nothing.
Yeah. I was just telling someone how I will never forget, and this is just real talk, where the blessings that God will pour on you when you are out here doing the work and you are moving and you are trusting. I would never forget my first block party that I did for National Good Deeds Day. It was overwhelming. I think I told people the story about, I have never told you guys, but that day it was supposed to rain. The forecast said it was going to rain. And I kept telling people, because I remember I was like, I'm going to put God on Front Street. I know this is not of me. This is about him. He ordained this for me to do this. This is from God. It's not going to rain. Y'all come out. I promise y'all it's not going to rain. I put this on God. The end of the end of the block party, we had somebody come around the corner, just around the corner, and they were soaking wet. And they was like, my sister was like, yo, what happened? He was like, yo, it was pouring. My block was sunny on 110.
Wow.
It was sunny the whole time. Yeah. Sunny the whole time. And everybody was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah, Kiana just finished a block party around the corner. Like, what you mean? Like, they was like, yo, it was pouring. 96th Street and 110th. Everybody, and even like up here, because I live farther up in the Bronx now. Even around here, everybody was like, yo, it's been like pouring all day. It was crazy. They was like, what are you talking about? We've been working, sweating, running up and down the block, doing all types of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember God was on me. There were so many people coming towards me like, oh, I want to help with this. I want to help with that. And I got overwhelmed. I got overwhelmed. I didn't blame God. I didn't blame it. I got overwhelmed. And I remember telling God, oh, I'm not ready. Because in order for me to continue, I had to continue to walk the line that God wanted me to walk. And it was a different path. And sometimes that's okay. You can't focus on what other people are doing if you have to focus on your life. So if you're not supposed to smoke and you're not supposed to do this, that's what you're supposed to do. You can't focus on what other people, and I wasn't ready. I remember telling God, I'm not ready. I'm not.
And that's fine.
I remember
acknowledge
exactly.
That. Mm-hmm. That's what I tell people. I say, when you're ready to move, get your passport and move from the land of lies into the land of peace.
Amen.
Then you can make real change in your life. We lie to ourselves so much. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to say, you know what? I ain't ready yet. It's me. Mm-hmm. It's me.
It is. Yeah.
Then you know what work needs to be done so that you can step into that abundance. You can't step into it if you're lying to yourself and telling yourself, oh, I'm ready. And then you get in there and you're not getting what you want. And you're thinking, oh, either God's against me or the enemy's against me. No, it's you. You weren't ready. Yeah. You weren't ready.
You get in there, you fumble the ball completely. Mm-hmm. Oh, this has been good. And that was just one question, y'all.
Exactly, right?
That was just one question. All right. So I saw on your website, empower women, empower the community. Can you just talk about why that? Because I'm looking at that as like you empower women and you get a homeostasis. Well, I won't even say a homeostasis because that's stable. I feel like it's more propelling. It's a trajectory. It's somewhere where you're going. So can you just express how you got to that point where understanding like you take care of the woman and everything else kind of falls in place?
We are the center. We are the epicenter of life. That's it. We are the epicenter of our own communities. So if the focus of empowerment is on the woman, right? If you meet an empowered woman, she then in turn empowers her entire community. How? We see it at churches. Like churches don't operate without women. They don't.
Yeah,
now you got some churches that won't put women at the head, and I don't understand that. But look, it doesn't operate without them. If the women walk away, the church falls apart. It's the same thing with our households. If the woman's not there, the household falls apart. And so I believe if we empower women to fully identify with self, to fully know self, and to reach and attain their highest self, what do you think they're going to pass on to their seeds? What do you think? And this is the power of a woman. This is a speech that I have that I do, and it's called the Eve Effect, right? So I'm talking about the Eve Effect, and there's this thing that women have. And sometimes it can be to our detriment because we don't understand the value of this gift. But the gift that we have is that we have the ability to see potential and to bring potential out of people, right? That's just something women have. They go into a house, it becomes a home.
Yeah.
That's what women do. And so if you understand the value of that gift of a woman, then if you feed her positivity, if you feed her the power of herself, if you feed her all of this, guess what she's going to do? She's going to give it to that child. She's going to pull it out. She's going to give it to her husband and affirm him and pull out greatness in him. This is what a woman does. So that's why that's always been my motto. If you empower the women, you empower the community. It starts right there. That's it.
I love that, because it's also still that understanding what you have. I always try to let people know that there should be a collectivism between all of us, right? We can't be individualistic. We all have such a strong, powerful gift that's within us. So when you have something, you have to give it. It's kind of like that. Like you keep trying to stuff something into a jar. You keep putting it in. It's going to explode eventually, right? You have to pour it in. You have to pour it out. You got to give it over or spill it over, like you said earlier, right? Can you talk about an experience in the industry that like really tested you, or maybe it made you feel like, I don't know if I want to do this? You know, have you ever had one of those moments really, or where it tested your authenticity at the time where you had to make a choice or anything of that nature?
I'm sorry, somebody's trying to call me.
No, it's okay.
I hope it did blink out the video, but okay, good. So yes, that has definitely been, a thing. And it's so funny. It's like, I feel old sometimes, but then I'm like, girl, if you ain't old, you're dead. So, hey, cheers. So when I first started, right, this was early 2010 is when I decided to launch I Hear That Girl, right? And this was at the very beginning of the whole Real Housewives situation.
Yes, okay.
And I just was like, man, I remember television, but I saw positive images that looked like me. That's not my reality. That's not my truth. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't a truth.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't count people on my hands. I couldn't even think of anyone that was in my circle that looked like that or acted like that or behaved like that. I just couldn't. But I could think of way more people that looked like the people I grew up seeing, right? So I said, okay, this has got to change. Then I'm still at the station and I'm like, I'm noticing like this music is getting worse. It's getting more offensive. And then the women are loving it. And then my niece at the time said that her favorite person was, she was like, she's goals. It was Nicki Minaj. And I was like, why? Can you tell me why though? And it wasn't because she's a great rapper. It was her body. She's attractive. And I was like, okay, time to change this situation.
Yeah.
So I decided to do something about it. And I created a platform. And I said, okay, well, I'll just fill this up with like the positive perspectives, because there's more to us than just what mass media wants to feed us.
Yeah.
And they get to choose what they feed us, And so I created it, and I was like, I'm going to control my own narrative, and I'm going to speak my truth and the truth that I see. And so using that, seeing that power of being able to change the way a person thinks. Over the years, I've seen how, just how women view themselves in beauty, how like I've seen the effects of, you put this on the TV long enough and guess what? Now you're seeing it around you. You put this in their ear long enough and guess what? Now they're talking like this around you. It's everywhere, and it's not going to change that power. So I remember when I first moved here to Atlanta and I was hosting an event, and I'm working with PR reps. And of course they ask you what your site is all about and stuff, and I'm telling them. And so I get on board. So they start sending out blasts. Once you sign up, they'll send you out blasts of events. So it was a Real Housewives event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I won't be there, you know? And I remember the PR rep, he was like, why? And I was like, that's not for my platform. That's not what I do. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I only promote something that has a positive impact on our women. I'm not going to promote that. I'm not doing it. And he was like, well, I don't see how you're going to get far like that. He was like, that's great. Positivity is great. But, right now it's about gossip. It's about, fighting. It's about the all of that. And I was like, well, y'all can have that. I'll just, continue to do what I do with my little audience, and I've dealt with that for a while. But by sticking to what I said and not, saying, oh, well, I just want to get it and I'm going to do it. These people immediately learned, okay, we're only going to send ISIS the positive stuff. And it became this thing that, all the positive stuff kept coming to me. So I'm covering all the positive stuff. And it became such a big deal that when they have a client that is doing something empowering, because the change was coming. Oh, I saw the change was coming. I was just ahead of the change. The change was coming, and they were, because you can only take so much negativity before you got it, right? And so as that turn started coming, they got more and more clients that are like empowerment this, empowerment that. Guess who they're calling? Oh, Isis, we really need you to be here because we know this is right up your alleyway. And I was like, oh, now I'm important. No, you didn't want to be on out here, there, girl. Okay. So, like, I just see that pivot. But then there was also a bad thing that came with it, which was, as people moved towards empowerment, it became you can actually make money doing this. And you had mean girls, saying, hey, this is for empowerment, when you're really just doing it for money, and you're hurting people in the process. And so now you have women who are empowered out. They are like, I don't even want to be empowered no more because y'all people be lying. Y'all don't be authentic, And so there came a point where I was like, do I need to take empowerment off of the site? Because it was turning people away, because of how they've been hurt by other empowerment facilitators. But I said, no, because this is what I do. And I do it authentically.
Well, yeah.
So I know that if they are given the chance, or if they are really, really, really set on in being an empowered individual, like if you're really seeking true empowerment, I believe you'll find me, because that means you're going to do the research. And then all you need to do is look at my site, my timeline, anything, you'll know that's authentic. And so, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to stick to what I believe and what I, what I go by. And I believe that empowerment, the word itself is not what hurt people. It's the people that hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've dealt with that, girl. It's
listen, staying constant and authentic. I'm not going to lie to you. When you were saying it, I was thinking of how constant and intentional God is. He's there. He's a rock. He's staple, right? He don't change up for anybody. He's not switching up for you. Eventually you come back.
Yeah.
You go. So it's, and being image bearers, right? You stay authentic. You remember what your intention is. You stay sturdy on your square. And they will come. The people who need the message will be there. And this is some of the, I remember the housewife stories, what I remember that you told me.
Yeah.
I do. And because, and I just knew it had to do, I didn't know the specifics, but when you said it, that's why I started smiling, because I said, I remember this. And it was the understanding, just stick to what, do not switch up. Things will work out. So if there's only one person who listens every week, you because consistency is also the key to all of it too.
Yes.
You got to stay consistent. You got to stay constant. You got to stay intentional. Be, like she said, be authentic. Listen. Y'all can't see me, but I bucked a little bit because I'm excited. You know what I mean? It's because the beauty of this is that I'm so excited because God downloaded downloading these experiences and these episodes for me. So when it's coming out this way and it makes you feel so good like this, it's just like this extra confirmation. It just feels, you know what I mean? So man, I'm just hyped.
When you get that confirmation, you're always just like, I hear you. Yes. I hear you. Like, confirmation is everything.
Everything. What is the best advice that was given to you throughout the years within this field? Because I already told y'all she gave me the best advice to be able to embark on this journey. And I'm being honest to God. Every time I just keep saying, just be you, be authentic, be your authentic self. But what's the best advice you've ever gotten in this industry, in this field?
I will say that the best advice I ever got, because as soon as you asked that, I was like, did anybody give me advice? But I do remember it was, I was 16 when I first walked into a radio station, right? And I walked in at 16 and I was like, hey, I don't have a job, but I would like a job. I don't know how to do anything, but I'll do it, and they hired me to just sit around, and do nothing. And so I would ask questions all the time and learn different things. And I really wanted to find out what they do as far as the people who talk on the radio, right? And so I used to go into the DJ booth and, ask them questions. And so I ended up learning how to run the boards, which is engineering, basically. And I remember the program director at the time, his name was Minnesota Fats. So I remember him, and he was like this local celebrity. And he said to me, always learn everything you can. That way, no one can ever turn you down. And I was like, okay. And he was like, because his co-host, he was like, she won't learn these boards. And one day I won't be here. So I don't know what she's going to do. Like, you make sure you learn everything.
Everything.
And so I heard him and I did just that. I learned everything. Now, this was when I was 16, but I learned I wanted to know every moving part of a radio station, right?
Yeah.
From the marketing perspectives to sales, to traffic, to the general management, to the business office. Like, I wanted to know from start to finish, how do you run this whole, thing? So when I was 18, I went to college. And then I got a phone call from a guy who was the production director at the time when I was 16. And he was now the program director of the station because there was another station. And he called and he was like, hey, I need somebody to run the boards. I need, a personality, and I could think of you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm in college now, but that's fine. Who doesn't want a job while they're in college? I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I came in, and that's how I got started, with the on-air personality position. But while I was there, I started doing everything.
Wow.
Everything there. And so by the time I was 21, I remember I said, I need to talk to my general manager because I need more money. And they were like, yeah, but they only give like a 3% raise. And I was like, I don't care, but I need to talk to them. I need to make more money. So I go in, and my immediate supervisor was saying, no, don't do this. You're probably going to get fired, right? So I go back there, and he's like, yeah, you want to talk to me? I was like, yeah, I need to get paid more money because I know I'm worth more money. And he's like, yeah, but we can only do a 3% raise. I said, oh, that's fine. Do you want me to log out now? or do you want me to finish my shift? Because I know somebody can pay me my worth. Is it going to be you or is it going to be somebody else? And, you know, my immediate supervisor is like this with his hands in his head. He's like, oh my God, she's going to lose this job. And my general manager says to me, he says, what number would make you happy? And I told him the number, and then he said, and why do you feel like you need this number? I said, I do 7 jobs here. Are you going to pay 7 different people? Or are you going to give me what I asked for? You know? And I said, and I'm damn good at them too. And he said, that is very true. So he was like, okay, I'm going to call and see what we can do. And so I go, you know, back to the DJ booth, and my immediate supervisor is just like, he's like, girl, you're going to lose this job. They can't give you that money. Why would you ask for that much money? Da, da, da. I was like, because that's how much I'm worth. Yeah. You know? And so my general manager calls me back. He's like, okay, you got it. I was like, oh shit, I should have asked for more.
Like, dang on it.
I was like, damn, I should have asked for more. But you know what? At the end of the day, if he hadn't told me, you learn everything. I had value. And I added to my value by learning every facet of that station. And he knew that if he wanted to bring on 7 people to do the jobs, that if he lost it, he brought on 7 people to do those jobs, it would have cost more.
Yep.
So he was like, well, it just makes sense to let her continue to do the work of 7 people, and we pay her what she asked for. You know?
That's so crazy. I always tell my kids that they'll tell me, oh, I want to be a basketball player, or I want to do this. I said, okay, well, let's learn you're going to learn every single thing about it. Oh, but just know you're going to learn how to be a manager of a basketball team, how to coach the basketball team. What does it mean? And I used to always let them know in certain schools and certain dynamics, they are teaching young Black boys how to be players. And in predominantly white schools, they're teaching them how to run the team. You're going to learn all of it. So I love that. And even as I grow up, I notice that that's something that's natural in me, where I want to know. I remember I used to work at this job. I'm not going to say their name because I'm giving a no. But I used to work at this job, and I remember I was in the retail. I was like one of the managers in the retail. And I was like, well, can I do this department and that department? Can I switch off each weekend? Because I want to learn all of it. And he was like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, but why not? Like, I want to, but my interest, I wound up learning. You can put me into the host department. I used to go over there by myself and just be like, so I used to be annoyed. I used to be like, so you press this for what? And how much? So how do you do this? Like, what do you do? I learned on my own, and I would be an asset that if they needed me. Now, the beauty that you spoke on is understanding your worth. When you know what you're capable of, do not fight asking for that. You know, so crazy. I say this logic. I always tell my kids too, try it. And if ask somebody for help, because if they say no, you didn't have it in the first place. But if they say yes, then you got something new. There's no harm in just trying it, right? And that's really, really what it is. If you know your worth, then you know, just like she said, I can take my talent somewhere else and somebody gonna pay me. You have to think about it like that, knowing your worth. And I've struggled with that, honestly, like understanding what my power is, understanding my worth. Like, I know I had to go through that healing to get to this point to finally push out on faith. I also want to say, I want to thank you, because we had the beginning of our journey when we met, but then you gave me an opportunity. Did I just graduate college? I think I just graduated grad school. Yeah. I had just graduated grad school, and you offered me to write on your to do a blog on your site. And I remember when I got this, I was like, what? What did she see in me? Why did she want me to write? Mind you, I love writing, but I'm insecure in it. So I can be insecure in it sometimes. And because my friends will always tell me, all you need help with is like the grammatical stuff. Like, you're a good writer. You know what I mean? And I remember like, what? I was so excited, but I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I did a few, and then I started slacking, and I want to apologize.
I was just looking at one of your articles not too long ago, and I was like, oh, she is such a good, you are a great writer.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's so crazy how things work, because me doing that for you within, even if it was a small amount of time, I always, any experience I have, this is why I have the Kheartfelt Experience podcast, because it's a lesson. There's a lesson in it all. And it prepared me as I got my website now to write these blogs for these episodes. It's a lot of work. Yes. You gotta get creative. It's a lot of work, but because of you, I was able to have that platform. I was able to learn how to do it. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful. Even though I didn't go full term like I wanted. I remember I used to feel like, oh my gosh, what is the next one gonna be about? I don't know. But you thought of me to give me that opportunity, and God knows exactly why. And I'm just so thankful that you were obedient to the Spirit, or you thought of me and was like, I want to offer her this. And I was just like, man. And I'm just so thankful. I think I did it maybe about 4 articles, 4 to 5. I think maybe 4. Yeah. And it was a great experience. It really, really was. Like, so I got some published stuff out there, y'all.
Yes, she does. You can Google her.
Yeah, Google me, baby. I want to talk about, I have a few more questions, and then we can get out of here. Some of them you've already really definitely answered, just in the spirit of us having such great conversation. But I did want to ask, and you mentioned this earlier, like I wanted to ask, like, what does success mean to you? You touched on it, but I kind of just want to bring it back up. Like, what does success mean to you?
Success is different now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
But now success is not failing myself. Mm. That's what success is for me. Knowing that I truly believe in myself and in my capabilities, and that the actions I take in life reflect that belief. Mm. That's when I'm successful. Because if I'm sitting here thinking that I should have something, or I should be something, and I haven't done any of the work to reflect that what I say I believe, then no, I don't feel successful. Like, I even go every day and I'm like, today was a very successful day because I did this or that, something towards a belief in myself, even if it's a day of doing nothing. Because if that's the belief that I have for that day, then I'm going to honor it. I don't want to spend the whole day beating myself up and saying, oh, you're being unproductive. I don't even do that. So if I honor myself that day, that's when I feel successful. I feel very successful. And then I'm always setting goals. I have goals for daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, right? And then yearly goals. So I have to evaluate myself daily, because somebody told me, I can't even remember who it was. It might have been my therapist, but was just like, live each day. That's it. Because I am overly planning. I'm a planner person, right? Yeah. I'm very OCD about, I like things in a certain way, and I can create overwhelm for myself. Like you said earlier, like I create overwhelm for myself sometimes, and that's where a lot of our anxiety is. And it's because we're not honoring something that we've said we wanted to do. Yeah. And so you get anxious because you're like, oh, am I going to do it in time? Or am I going to be able to complete this? Or I don't fully believe that I can. That's where that comes from. And so I think this was my therapist, but basically said, just live one day at a time. And so when I'm focused on that day and I'm honoring myself in that day, making sure that I reflect and say, you know what, you have done this, you have done these things, like celebrate yourself. I think we get so caught up in that big goal that we forget all the good little things we're doing, and we're not even celebrating it. Like, we don't even celebrate, anything that we do. Like, if you get up early And let's say you know, like I said, my morning routine starts at 5:30. If I get up at 6:30, instead of fussing about, girl, you an hour late, I'm like, girl, you still up.
Yes. And you still did what you set out to do.
Get to doing what you do. Like,
yeah,
we create so much inner turmoil.
Yes.
That we don't have to have, because we're putting these constraints on ourselves. And I don't even know where they come from. I would say societal constraints, but it's really not. Society is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just like to be successful day by day, moment by moment, and making sure that I am tapped into myself and honoring myself. So that's what success is for me.
Thank you. I first I want to say I literally I spoke on this because I remember saying ain't nobody can curse me out like I could in my head when I don't do the things that I want to do. I can be my worst. And I stopped doing that. And I started giving throughout the whole pandemic, make sure y'all go listen to Experience 2, where we talk about you are filled up to pour out. I should change it to spill over, but you guys get the drift, okay? Listen to it, because I literally just talked about how I didn't give the goals that I had met. I remember when I did the block party, I remember the different achievements I made, and I was just like, I could do better. I seen it differently in my head anyway. It's not that big of a deal, you know? And I didn't celebrate these things. Nowadays, my goal, I get up at 4:30. My goal is to stay up, work out, get into this office, do the things I gotta do, you know? And I remember there'll be times I'm like, I gotta go back to sleep after I just sat with God. I'm just tired, you know what I mean? But I would still get up, back up, and work out. And it was like, it didn't go in the order that you had planned it, but that is okay. And I really finally started giving myself that grace and that understanding. And it's so worth it to do it, because you're not tight and have all this contention in your chest and this anger towards yourself. Like this anger towards yourself, and you have to love yourself. You can't be mad and throw negativity towards your own dang on self. Like, you can't do that. So what you're saying is just so true. And I asked you the question because I really think that how we measure success ties into how authentic we tend to be. And I don't know if I have all the science behind it, but if your goals may be if success means to you something that's tangible, you may compromise certain things to get that tangible thing, in my opinion. I remember I watched an interview recently with Issa Rae. I think Charlamagne had asked Issa, how, does the Grammys, does the Emmys and all of those awards mean something to you? And she was like, honestly, no. What it does is it brings more people to watch the show, which is good because you want the message out. She was like, but it really doesn't. And I think because of that, probably amongst many other things, right, she's able to just do the work and not think like, oh, I gotta do it this way because this person's gonna like it and this is gonna get us on the top of the charts and this is gonna get us she's not thinking of it that. So her work is pure and authentic. By the time that we receive it, we're like, oh man, it's at home. This is some good stuff. I could relate to this because it came from her heart. It didn't come to try to manipulate you and figure out some type of way to get it out. So I really think it's important how you look at what success is. I recently said I feel like I had the most successful year during the pandemic because I got to learn and love me. And I got grounded with God. Nobody can tell me that was not the most successful. First of all, I looked at so many journals and I looked at all the ones. And my biggest thing was, I want a firm foundation with God. I want to have I want a great relationship with God. And I got to a point where now I understand his word. I'm in it now, I have a grounding and it's just building. It's the relationship that I'm building with God is the effort that I'm putting in, the time that I'm putting in is just as much as I will put in with those raggedy boys that I was dating back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But now, but the reciprocity is a lot better. I tell you.
Exactly.
It's the most successful thing I've ever in my life has been my relationship with God, getting this healing work that I got to experience during the pandemic. And I have to know that has been the foundation now, because any other time I thought I was doing something, the cement was still wet. So I'll go and try to build something on it and it's all cracking. Now it's solid so that I can be on across, I'm about to say across from you, but on this, and having this meeting with you finally after so many years, launching something that's been on my heart. You know what I mean? I have to believe that when we talked, it had to have been about radio. I know it had to have been about radio. Back in the day, I wrote down radio show. I wanted a radio show. And nowadays it's podcasting, so that's cool.
Right, it's podcasting. So it has evolved so much, and like that year of 2020, although it was filled with a lot of loss and sadness, right? It still was necessary.
It was so necessary.
Very necessary for so many of us.
Yeah.
They talk about the great resignation where people have left. People realize their own value. And they said, you know what? This ain't it.
Yeah.
So people had the opportunity to learn their value. We had the opportunity to be still.
Yes.
And to be still and know God.
Yes.
And we have so many distractions around us. Just taking 2 minutes to sit in silence for 2 minutes will change your entire outlook on your day, on your week, on your life.
Yeah.
And when you say about being our own worst critics, this is why I tell my clients to speak of themselves in third person. I had a friend that would speak of himself in third person, and at first I thought he was crazy. I was like, you what, ego much? Like,
that's
why
me.
are you talking to yourself in third person? But then when I started my self-work, and I had to make it something outside of myself, because then I could really see how I treat myself, because if you talk to yourself in third person, every time you get ready to curse yourself out or say bad things, say that name and then those things, like you're talking to someone else, and then you'll realize how quickly you'll realize very quickly, like, I am mean to myself. Very mean to myself, and you will want to change that, and you will start to want to love on that person. So I'm like, Kimberly, you did great today, Kimberly. I'm so proud of you. You did an excellent job. You got this done. Like, I am in here like I'm talking to a whole group of people in my office at the end of each day, and I am congratulating myself for the things that we completed in this day, because we will overlook what we do because we're so focused on that big goal, and you lose yourself and you lose the respect of yourself, and therefore that does dampen your belief in yourself, because you are piling on negative thoughts onto yourself. So
Listen, all right, I got 2 more, and then we're gonna get up out of here. I want you to I understand that this is how you look at success, right? But I do think that the way you look at success, and I'm talking about specifically you, really can be helpful to other people, right? So if you have 3 keys or 3 ways to ensure that you get to that success, what would they be, so we can help out those who are listening?
The first thing is to actually just say what you want without limitation. Always tell, coaching clients, what is your wildest dream? Write it down. Like, seriously, because when you're young, you're going to say whatever. And then you don't have to do the thing you did when you were young. But the fact is, we say it and there's no pause, But when you get older, you pause because you're like, well, I'll have to do this if I did that. And you're putting out too much stuff in the way. You've created obstacles to that thing that you want. So think of your wildest dream, write it down. And then the next thing I tell people to do is, under that, write down what is necessary to make this happen. Right? Because if we have a vision of something we want, sometimes we think the wall is so tall that we can't get over it, and really it's not that tall.
Yeah.
So just write down, what's necessary to make it happen, and then break down each one of those things into what's necessary to make those things happen.
Okay.
And there you go. You got stepping stones. It's super simple. Like it's so easy when you break things down. I will break things down so much till it becomes something easily digestible for myself. And if that's what it takes for you to actually get to action and not just to thought, because we can sit in our thoughts for a long time, you do want to get to a place of action. So even if the action step is research, guess what? You did something today. You researched. Some people overlook the fact that research, because they'll say, I don't know how to do that. Well, guess what? Your first action step is research. And if you do that on day one, you can congratulate yourself and say, oh man, congratulations, I just read this book, or I just learned this. You know what I'm saying? And guess what happens when you congratulate yourself? Your mind is ready to learn something new.
Yes.
It's motivated. It's like, oh, well, what's our next step? And before you know it, you'll take these little steps. It's 365 days in a year. Take those little steps. Like your step to what you want could literally be 243 days. You don't know, because you haven't gotten started and you haven't chopped it up. But it literally could be that small.
I love that.
Those are steps to get to what you want. But if you want to have an idea of success, or to get to a level of success that I have, or viewing of success, is that what you're asking me? The view of success. Then that begins with understanding yourself. You have to get to know yourself, and you have to question everything that you thought you knew about yourself. Are these my beliefs, or are these someone else's?
Yeah.
The unlearning has to begin, because if you're going to continue to go according to, well, I've seen everybody else do it this way, or I was raised this way, what is yours? What is inherently your idea? I think as an adult, everybody should have their own ideology. I know we carry a lot of beliefs from our family and our community, but is it yours? You can choose if I want to keep this belief, or if I want to dismiss it. And so you have to go through, do inventory into the beliefs or the things that you think are holding you back from really understanding what success means to me. Not to what it means to my mom, not what it means, what does success really mean to me? What does it look like? And then once you've done those two things, then you can figure out how I can get to that, my level of success. Not everybody else's. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to try to make sure that I have those, just a little blurb, just kind of on the Kheartfelt.com website under this particular blog when it's released. So don't worry, those keys will be there for each of you. And this is my last question. I ask this all the time, and I actually got my kids started asking this on the Youth Talk podcast that I do. They started asking this too when they do interviews. So it's really just, how do you want to be remembered in this life?
Ooh, and I do want to be remembered. I really do. Like I want to be impactful. I want somebody to say, man, she really made you think different. She pushed you to think for yourself. That's what I want. I really do. I just told somebody that the other day, that I want people to remember me like that. Like, I really do. I do really want someone to say, she made me think differently. Because I don't want people to live in this world thinking that they don't measure up. That sucks, because we all contribute. So I don't want anyone to think that they're not enough. Because you're more than enough. And I want you to think differently. That's what I want. I want somebody to remember me as she pushed everybody to think differently.
I love that. And I do believe that there are going to be people who listen to this who genuinely feel, because there's things you said already that I was like, I never even thought about in that aspect. I may have been in the perimeter, but now you just pulled me into the into the deep of it, and I never would have thought of it like that. So I'm thankful, and I know somebody who's going to listen is going to think the same thing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we leave out here, just let everybody know your Instagram handle, the website. You talked about the coaching and your clients. Let them know how they can get you now. Let them know how they can get contact.
You can find me on Instagram at ISIS _Thomas. You can, of course, find me online at ihearthatgirl.com. I'm on Facebook, Kimberly Isis Thomas. You can find me there. And yes, I do have a coaching group and I do one-on-ones. I am open for I have 7 more slots for my one-on-ones. The coaching group is an annual cohort, like it's a 12-month program. So it won't open back up until May. And but you can definitely get on like the mailing list and know about that, and you can definitely do one-on-ones with me. You can get that information on ihearthatgirl.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. But it's called Confidently Dope, so if you do hashtag Confidently Dope, you'll find that information too.
Also, she has a podcast as well.
Oh, yeah. Yes, the Dope Black Chick Podcast. Yes, the Dope Black Chick Podcast. We are going into year what? This is year 3 of the Dope Black Chick Podcast. Girl, yes. And so yeah, it's me rambling with thoughts, y'all. I have revelations all the time, and so it's just me rambling for a good 20 minutes about whatever revelation I've had or something that I've been reading, because y'all know I read a ton of books. I read 3 to 4 books each month.
Really?
Yes, honey. I love reading books because books open your mind to so many things. So I read 3 to 4 books each month. 30
I gotta get it together, y'all.
30 pages a day, and then you'll get through it. Like 30 pages a day.
30 pages a day. 30. I'm gonna write this down. 30 pages a day. Y'all out there, y'all hold me accountable, because we know that accountability is needed as on a part of our growth. So 30 pages. I'm really gonna write this down. 30 pages, because I start like 3 books. Do I finish them? No, I do not. No, I don't.
30 pages a day. No, literally 30 pages a day. You'll finish a book a week.
Ooh, all right. Listen, y'all. 30 pages a day. 30 pages. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to hold me accountable. Y'all ask me. I'm going to do it. Thank you so much, because that's a part of one of my goals is to start reading. I'll pick up a book and I'll start it. But then I'm like, oh, I got to, I get all this other stuff. And it's just like, no, make time. 30 pages a day. I'll put it in my, thank you.
And that's exactly why I love reading, because you have that time. You have that time. And so many people say, I don't read because I don't have the time to.
But yes, you do. Stop scrolling on Instagram.
You create the time. You create that time. And so now it's like I look forward to reading my books and having that moment for myself of silence. Usually I'm playing like a sound bath playlist or something. But I'm into my book for that time, and nobody's bothering me during that time. And I'm just there. It's alone time. And I do post, whatever books I'm reading each month on my Instagram page though.
So make sure you follow that. If you're a reader and you want to get in tune, make sure you follow I Heart That Girl. Also Isis _ Thomas.
Isis _
Thomas. Yes. For Instagram. Okay. I'm so thankful that you are my first guest. I want to thank you for the opportunity here. Yeah. Oh, and the last thing I'm gonna say, whoever was trying to change you from your rap career, when you was telling me, I was like, first of all, you just would have been like the first Mary, but you know what? God had another plan, because that's what she was already doing, and they didn't know what they was talking about. So I was really thinking, I was like, oh, so she had like, oh, really? So they really tried to play? Okay. So that's y'all lost. So, but thank you again so much for your time. I truly, truly do appreciate it. And I love you. You're a big sis, a mentor. And I really look up to a lot of the things that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you. And thank you for having me. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.